Welcome to the regular meeting of the Town of Monroe Planning and Zoning Commission. I am Mike Riley, the chairman. It is November the 7th, 2024 at 7:03 p.m. If you'll please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll call the roll, starting on my right.
Dominic Sparglito, alternate commissioner.
Brian Cowden, Commissioner.
Leanna Bosey, Commissioner.
Bruno Maini, commissioner.
Robert Westland, Commissioner.
Nicole Lupo, alternate commissioner.
Kathleen Gallagher, Planning and Zoning Administrator.
And that's it? No one online. All right. First of all, we're going to do is general public participation period. If anyone is here or online that would like to address the commission on any matter that is not on the agenda, this is the time to do so. If anyone is here, raise your hand. Anyone is online, please press the raise my hand button. Okay, seeing none, then we'll move along to public hearings. Our first public hearing is SPP 2024-02, file 160. It's 685 Main Street. And you have notices, right?
Yep. All right,
Go ahead.
Planning and Zoning Commission, Monroe, Connecticut, notice of public hearing to be held November 7th. In accordance with CGS 8-7D, a public hearing will be held Thursday, November 7th, via hybrid Zoom meeting and in-person attendees. SDP 2024-02, file 160685 Main Street, standard site development plan application for site improvements at 685 Main Street, B1, assessors map 082, lot 035/00, Toledo Development Group LLC, C/O, Gary Lido, applicant, and J. Edwards and Associate LLC representative. Notice was published in Voices twice on October 23rd and October 30th.
Thank you, Commissioner Condon. Kathleen, you want to read the exhibits into the record?
Yes, Exhibit 1, application and plan set, document date September 19th, 2024 by J. Edwards and Associates. Exhibit number 2, Town of Monroe Police Chief comments dated September 20th, 2024. Exhibit 3, Town of Monroe Health Department comments, document date September 23rd, 2024. Exhibit number 4, ARB positive referral letter, document date September 10th, 2024. That date is before the submission of this application because they did come to ARB prior to coming to the Planning and Zoning Commission. Exhibit number 5, comments from Town of Monroe EMS, document dated September 23rd, 2024. Exhibit number 6, Planning and Zoning Administrator report by myself, document date September 24th, 2024. Exhibit number 7, certified mail receipts by J. Edwards Associates, document dated September 26th, 2024. Exhibit number 8, Town of Monroe engineer comments and bond estimate by James DeMayo, document date October 29th, 2024. Exhibit number 9, certified mail list and copy of receipts dated October 31st, 2024. Exhibit number 10, revised plans by J. Edwards and Associates, revision date 10/31/2024. Exhibit number 11, revised planning and zoning administrator report by myself, dated November, I think it was 5th, 2024. Exhibit 12, updated engineering comments by James DeMayo, document date October 7th, 2024. And again, just to reiterate that the Architectural Review Board did have a positive referral to the Planning and Zoning.
Thank you. So for the applicant,
Chair, Commissioners, Liberty LLC, offices at 10 Sasko Hill Road in Fairfield. here on behalf of the applicant for the property at 685 Main Street. If you recall, there was a presentation on this. I think it was last year, maybe it was. But Jason Edwards did speak to you on this plan, gave you a brief overview. So I'll try not to be repetitive. It is a 1 acre lot in the B1 zone. This is the site that's just south of the retail center. Golf simulator is, donuts is. It's a vacant lot. And what we are proposing is a use that's conforming to the B1 zone, which is for a 7,500 square foot retail building, general retail building. And you can see it here down in the southwest corner. It's proposed for access here on its northern end. It's an L-shaped parking lot. Originally, we had submitted with 38 parking spaces, which is conforming to the regulations. On this plan, we've actually added an additional space based on some comments that we received from the town engineer regarding the loading area. So this is the one that you're looking at right now is the latest revision that has 39 parking spaces. There is the front entrance, you can see right over here. And then there's a loading area back here for a size for a WB50 truck, which is a truck that's used with this retail building, as well as the dumpster location. There's a stormwater detention system. Jason and I went through that. We have Kevin from Jason's office. We can go through some of those details with you if you want to hear them. But it's a stormwater detention system designed for the 100-year storm. This is it's a site development plan under your regulations. It conforms with all your standards. There was a number of comments submitted from engineer, from town staff. I believe we've addressed them. There was comments from EMS regarding stretcher access. We confirmed with our architect that there's adequate stretcher access to this building. There was this comment about the loading area. We do have a plan that shows that the WB50 truck get back into the loading area. There was a concern, that truck will come make deliveries for the retail store in off hours. That's how they generally operate. So the parking lot will be built, but we did, again, create that additional space in case that truck would block a stop. But I would note that these spaces that are near the loading area would be the ones that we would intend for employees, as they are the farthest away from the main entrance to the building. We submitted a landscaping plan. Map Pop is here. I don't have it pulled up, but we did submit a landscaping plan, an extensive landscaping plan. Really focusing on trying to protect neighbors. There is residential that's abutting to this property. So we have a pretty dense landscape buffer proposed there. There are a number of mature trees there. If you've been by that site, there's a number of mature trees there. And we are doing our best efforts to maintain those. There's a collection here that we're showing. There's also some that are slightly off our property that I believe are slightly off our property that we're also looking to maintain. But we have submitted a plan here that shows, in case for some reason when the grading is done, if there is this, if there are some trees to be removed, that there is this replacement that could go. So we also have the architect here. Happy to have him come up and run through his designs. Did receive a positive referral from ARB. I know this commission likes to do its own review of the architecture as well, and so we are happy to have him to do that. Other than that, it's fairly straightforward. It's a conforming use. conforms to your development regulations. And we think it's a great revitalization of this lot. The answer,
The landscape plan, oh, it is here, okay.
yeah. Want me to have Matt come up and speak to it, or?
Is there a way to get it up there for the public?
Yeah. Is it in the set?
I'm confused.
Is there something I can clarify, Commissioner?
You will in a minute,
Okay.
I promise.
No, there it is. Sorry.
Relax.
Matt, do you just want to come up here real quick?
Good evening, and Matthew Park, the Park Extension and High School Institutions. I know mission industry. I prepared the landscaping plan for you. Just starting at the street, we have oak trees. Luckily, there's don't have utility lines there, so it's great to have a large permanent shade tree. In the parking lot, there's a number of also shade trees. Those are honey locusts. I find that they do fairly well in parking areas. To the rear of the buildings, as well as the property line here and here, we have Norway spruce, spring giants, with American holly, and red cedars along the property line here. What I tried to do, there's existing trees here, as well as gap in the evergreen screening, or I had the arborvitae's here that provided the screening. I moved a few over here, off that view, towards the building. In fact, over here, there's a shed, which is made of small berm and another story in a tree. And lastly, the entrance right over here, we have 6 birch trees, just going to give a focal point with the entrance. Quickly.
Commissioner Mayne, was there something that,
No, we're gonna start with Mike when he's ready.
do you want to first have the architect come up and go through the architectural?
Yes.
Okay.
See the, let's take a look at the building.
I'll say a couple of housekeeping things while we're waiting. Like Attorney Russo had mentioned, this is a site development plan as compared to a special exception permit, which means that this commission is looking at it as relates to the zoning regulations. The assumption, if it's an SDP, is that it is a permitted use in the zone, and you, as a commissioner, just making sure that it meets the zoning regulations. Obviously, there's some conditions that can be added, including bonds and things of that nature. This is different from an SUP that you have 65 days in order to make a decision. If for some reason you won't make a decision within 65 days, it is an approval. Just because we voted to have it be a public hearing doesn't extend that. So this commission needs to make a decision by December 7th.
All right. For the record, my name is Doug Gruner. I'm with the firm of BKA Architects. We're located in Quincy, Massachusetts, for the architecture project. And these are brief presentation. Basically, we're starting with the front elevation, which has the predominant side. The materials of the building are going to be thin brick, a red thin brick, a cementitious clapboard, an ethos, as well as capped with an asphalt shingle mansard. The windows here are opaque because it's going to be a retail application. It's going to be full height walls there. So basically, it's going to have a light gray film over that, and they're capped with an awning on both of them. The entry here is an aluminum sliding door system in dark bronze. The window frames are also dark bronze as well too. The colors are red on the bottom, red on the base, with a light tan for the clapboard and a beige for the ethos above. So predominantly on the receiving side, it's the same materiality. Same materiality, but you can kind of see the scheme that we're trying to complete here. Basically, the front entry, because it bumps out here, and I'll show you the plan in a minute. We actually did the masonry up to where the ethos is, where the other sides are. We just kept the clapboard kind of soft and moved it soft. We wrapped the mansard around the corner here to basically continue the profile. And we also have a canopy over the entrance doors for basically weather protection. It's provided with the asphalt shingle as well too. This is the right side of the building, which has the receiving doors. It's a dual screen door, just basically for receiving product or the tenant. The rooftop units will be fully screened with a vertical metal backing material, which is actually the material that we're using on the rear of the building. The facade is broken up with these vertical trim pieces, cementitious, looks like a hardy board in a white color. And the opposite side pretty much has the same architecture, except it's a single door. You can pretty much see it from the image of that. The rear of the building has that vertical batten metal panel, as I said. This is pretty much where the downspouts for the horizontal gutter that runs across the rear of the building that collects all the roof runoff will go. The downspouts will be connected into the storm system accordingly. And as you can see here, the rooftops are screened on 3 sides, but also just a screen on the front of the frontage. But we do need to keep the rear open though for maintenance access. And this is the area where the proposed signage ban will go. The signage will be submitted under a separate permit, and we're going to be illuminating it with the decorative freestyle lighting. We have shown some schematic lighting on the building, but the lighting will follow whatever the photometrics plan that was submitted. It will follow that plan. And with that, should I ask questions or want to pick up?
No, I think we're ready for questions.
Let's start with the commissioner's questions on my right.
The front elevation, is that what actually faces the road, Route 25?
Right here.
And which is the side that faces the parking lot?
So this faces one half of the parking lot, and then this is the other side that faces the north parking area.
Okay. No other questions right now?
No questions.
You have sidewalk?
Sorry?
Sidewalk.
Sidewalk?
Street, yes.
Yeah, street, yes.
But,
Is there any architecture related questions? I can switch to the site plans if they're.
I want to look at that. That's the colors of the building, is going to be that colors? Are those the colors of the building?
Yes. They have brought some samples if you want to take a look.
Yeah, can you let me see?
Might not be represented on the record.
Neat. 5.2 is the side yard.
The red brick is pretty much what's going to show there. That is pretty accurate. This is what's going to be the color of the platform.
Okay.
This is what's going to be color of the ethos. This is going to be the color of the metal panel, the vertical metal batten panel. This is the storefront color, dark bronze.
You're welcome. You're doing hardy board for the siding?
Yes. Already for the siding and the trim.
I'm good for that. I have a couple questions. A very specific building that you have here. So do you have a tenant in mind?
There are tenants that we're speaking, where there's specific tenants that we are speaking to, yes. It's a general retail store.
Selling what?
Like general retail products.
Retail. Nothing specific.
Yeah,
Like a Dollar General that does dental, like.
similar to that.
That works. Okay. Couple quick questions, nothing major. Maybe you could explain it to me to help me understand. You have a couple spots here designated as snow areas? Take your time. I'm here all night.
I believe it's on the sheet. They're not labeled on the sheet, but they are
Yeah, it's those two.
these two locations here.
But when I go to the landscape plan, there's trees in there.
Yes, we just located those, and Pop is aware that needs to make a slight revision to his plans too.
So there's not going to be trees in there?
Those trees from that pot, those trees will be shifted.
Sorry?
Those trees will be shifted towards the center.
Center of what?
Center of the parking house, so right
Between the two.
between the two rows of spaces, so right here,
One will go on either side.
So those,
between the two shelves.
so the snow storage areas are going to be empty?
Correct.
It's one, right?
Because the plan now shows trees.
Correct.
And those trees are going to go in between the two areas?
Correct, yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Sure?
If it didn't, one would get moved to the left side of the ones.
Right over here, what you're saying right here, the left,
Yeah,
it's a left
yeah,
here.
I just wanted
They'll
to.
either be shifted here or in between.
There's a light pole at the edge of the.
Yeah,
parking
right, yeah.
lot.
Yep, so that if it goes there, the trees will be centered on that light.
That won't affect the lighting?
But again, the light is being cast forward, light poles are 12 feet high, one cone.
How big are those trees going to be then?
Right, or they're installed probably 14 feet or so.
So they'll be above the light?
Yes.
What's their mature?
The light will be between them. Mature height, 40 feet, 50 feet. So again, it's a small, low, shot by phone.
At full maturity, that doesn't look like that tree's gonna be pretty close to the building, no?
Okay, now to check this out, I just got the comments today about the snow shovel. But the same amount of trees will be on the site, same amount of shade trees will be on the site.
Sure, I totally understand that, but I don't know if they're gonna want a 40-foot tree right next to the building that close. I mean, unless I'm just crazy.
Well, we may switch the species, so it might be, instead of oak, it's maybe a narrow.
Can we get an answer on that next time you guys come around?
Okay, yes, yep.
Excellent. That's done with that one. Quick question about the truck. On your plan here, it looks really, I see obviously in the front, on the side, it's working pretty good, but on the side here where the loading is, it looks really tight for that truck.
We're showing it fully within the loading area. Again, this would occur on off hours. And
So then that truck could be put,
provided an extra space in the revised plans because it is blocking that one space, which would be where the employees would be parking anyway.
so eventually when we get to the deliberation part of this building, it'll be notated that deliveries are gonna be done off hours?
You can make that a condition. Yeah, that could be a condition. You can set that as a condition.
Just 'cause-
It's typical for a lot of those.
There would be no way to move like this jog here? Where the front left tire is? Or is it not feasible? Like, talk to me. Talk to me.
I mean, essentially what we've tried to do is we created that extra space, so if we needed to remove this space, we could. But I don't know.
It's, yeah, the,
Just
Kevin, yeah, right, I realized. Kevin Fowler from J. Associates, 227 Stephanie Road, Easton. If you're talking about trying to shift the curb line to the north, just to clear a little more room for the tires there, like that's a pretty minor detail, so certainly doable. These three parking spaces are, as Attorney Russo has noted, employee spaces, so if the truck obstructs one or several of those, it's not
Well, if it's gonna be done after hours, doesn't matter then, really.
correct.
I'm just saying in that rare situation, if it does have to come during hours, which even though it supposedly won't.
But, again, in that situation would be the parking lot would be completely full and there would be, and it would just be in front of employee vehicles. So even if that happened on their situation, I don't think it would impair the function of the site or the entrance to any customers. I think the nice thing about leaving it where it is it's additional area for landscaping. But it sounds like if the commission wanted to shift that westward, we have the ability to do that, to get more.
So there is an ability to make some sort of change if needed.
If needed.
Excellent. I'm good.
So taking into consideration that the property backs up to residential, we're talking about off-hour deliveries. How late would the deliveries potentially be?
6:30, 6:30, yeah, 6:37 would be the earliest, 9 o'clock probably at night the latest.
And the dumpster, is that screened?
There's an elevation change there, what's the screen?
I believe the dumpster area is there not a fence?
Yeah, there's a fence right here.
Yeah, correct. And there is also a fence along that rear property.
It's not shown on the landscape plan if you see it,
Got it.
but there's a fence, there's
Right.
row plantings, there's more plantings. Then there's the dumpster screen. So it's got a pretty good, and it's, set back.
And on the bottom half of that landscape plan there, behind the building, where they're talking about putting arborvitae's in, what is the size and species of the arborvitae?
Green giant, right? It's GG, it's gonna be green giant, 6 to 7 feet.
It's 6 to 7 feet in height.
Green giants?
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I have.
Chris, can you clarify for me where are the residents surrounding the property? Which
So
borders?
residents behind here,
Okay.
and then to the south.
Okay.
North is Duncan and
Okay, in the golf.
with golf.
Golf place, okay. So I heard you say there's a fence along the back of the property.
Yep.
What's being done on, I think is the southern part of the property for
Also
those
fence.
neighbors there?
Yeah, also a fence.
Okay.
And then this landscape buffer is shown here.
Hmm.
There's also mature trees, if you've driven by, there's some pretty mature trees, so we're gonna try to preserve those as well.
This might be for the architecture person.
Yeah.
The single door on that side, does that have to be there? I'm just thinking for that homeowner on that side, what is that going to be used for? Any, for them to know who's kind of coming in and out of that door for safety?
Once again, Doug Gruner from BK Architects, that door is just going to be for egress purposes only from the main sales floor.
Okay,
And it has to be located there because it has to be a certain distance away from the entry doors
okay,
to meet code.
okay. And what, I know Rob asked about, or Bruno asked about the hours for the delivery. What are they gonna be the hours of the actual store being open? And is it Monday through, is it 7 days a week?
7 to 9, 7 to 10. So deliveries would be possibly earlier.
They're not off hours then?
Yeah, it'd be between 9 to 10 for deliveries. But it depends on the time restriction, but yeah, so it would be 6 to 7 for deliveries before, and it would be 9 to 10 for deliveries after. Basically an hour before, hour after.
6 to 7 a.m.?
That's a little early for me, with the beeping of the truck, the backing up for the neighbors, honestly.
Eventually.
That's, with them being right there. That is a concern of mine. And how many days a week is the store going to be in operation?
57, yeah. The hours.
Yeah, the garbage is also, and whatever time of day they come is also a consideration as well.
That would be a bit small.
The deliveries is more my concern than
Right.
the garbage, and then our usually doesn't come that early in the morning.
More for residential, but we have.
Residential guys come late.
Is there any opportunity for me to do a site, I don't know if any of the neighbors would allow me to do a site visit to kind of see from their neighbor, from their land, what this looks like from them?
I don't know if any of them are in attendance tonight,
Okay.
but if some of them are, that's something to talk about. I will say that I have driven on the backside, from Meadowview, and you can, I think it's 8 Meadowview Terrace, which is not where the hand is, it's actually the proper property down south of there. The majority of their backyard is lawn.
Okay.
It goes almost approximately up to their property line. So when we talk about screening, I actually think they're probably one of the ones that would be the most impacted from the vegetation and 685 Main Street, being taken down. 12 Meadowview has a little more, but they also have a shed back there. There's some areas that are screening. So everybody in this area, basically it goes right up to the property line that, and I'm sure their kids are playing in the backyards and things of that nature. So definitely screening was something that was asked for them to take into consideration.
No other questions, thank you.
Okay. What's the setback on the west, between the building and the neighbors there?
So let me take the sheet on first.
Rear, would be rear, yeah.
Going back is 30.1.
Sorry?
30.1.
30 feet
30.1.
setback in the west there,
Residential, so rear side yards. It's
the
30.
rear side. And then, so you've got 30 feet. You have a swale in there also? What's regulation?
Yeah, the swale begins behind the building and feeds down into a storage swale on the south side of the building.
The swale behind the buildings, is that going to, it gets there with the plantings back behind the building?
No,
The swale, yeah,
30 feet.
It's not from.
Matt's plan shows the swale.
30 feet?
Yeah.
So 30 foot. 30 feet.
It's behind it.
And one of the comments that was made from staff is that, like you're saying, there's a swale on the rear side of the building, and then there's a swale on the southern side that also has stormwater galleries underneath. So their original planting plan had much larger trees. I believe it had spruces in there, and we were concerned with the roots impacting the stormwater structures and there being conflict. So they did make some changes to that in order to propose what they believe meets the landscaping buffer requirements, while also making sure that they weren't conflicting with the potential operations of the stormwater galleries.
Yeah, I see your comment here. Are there any large trees on the neighboring residential property of which disturbance of critical root zones are concerned? I know that one of the properties has really tall, white pine trees.
And Mr. Pop can speak to his notes, but he did add notes to the plans that talk about how they're going to handle critical root zones to existing trees, both if it, because trees don't know where property lines are. So, as it relates to any critical root zones that go onto this property.
How do they manage that?
I believe there's notes about hand digging in those areas, about the way they would
Over that?
handle those root zones.
Matthew Cox, what was the question, please?
How are you going to handle the existing, you have a bunch of notes on your plans about how you're going to handle the existing critical root zones for the existing trees.
Typically, before the excavate, myself, a landscape architect would meet with the construction owners, would meet on site, review the trees along the perimeter and come up with measures to protect those trees. And most of the trees, the larger trees are
On the neighbor's property?
definitely here, 1, 2, 4.
Well, those are on your property, though.
Well, these two are off. This one's right on the property line. That one's just on, so.
Do you feel confident that your handling of that critical root zone?
Yes,
will
we
be
definitely
appropriate?
don't want to impact any of the trees on the neighbor's property. And even if they're on our site, we could save them, we want
Mhm.
to save them.
It doesn't look like you're going to save too many. But I know the neighbors do have quite some plantings back there, at least one of them does. I'd be concerned about that, those trees dying. Okay. That's all my questions. Thank you. We'll go to the, you have something else?
Well, I would just want to say we're revisiting the deliberation. Because my client, works with a lot of these retailers. He developed the Jersey Mike's, the new Jersey Mike's property, which I think has turned out real well. These retailers typically, this delivery for the WB50 is once a week. So it's very limited delivery. This commission has the authority under your regulations to limit delivery hours. We aim to do it on off hours, but you could also restrict it to off peak hours. This is really not a use that is peaking early in the morning. Same with late at night, it's definitely dips down. So I see that as well in just setting the window. This commission has the discretion to set that window.
Is it always a W50 truck or is there a possibility?
With this retailer, yeah, with these retailers, it's stuff.
Okay.
It makes it so they can bring everything in and it's.
A question about the fence. What type of material is the fence and how high?
There's a detail on it on the landscaping plan. What is this? 6-foot fence, maybe one.
Just called a wood screen fence.
Wood?
Yeah.
And do you plan on staining it and maintaining?
Yeah, it would be made.
Definitely maintaining. Is it staining?
Yeah, probably be left to the natural color. We preserve it for not it, not stain, but.
Because the one at Chipotle is not looking so good. No.
But again, it's we're open, the fence is, left to the dark vinyl color.
He's on it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other commissioner questions? If not, we'll go to the general public tonight. If there's anyone in the audience that would like to comment on this application, I'll have you raise your hand. Come up and speak into the microphone. And
Yeah, he hates that.
please address us, not the applicants. They're not supposed to be involved at this point. Come right up and state your name and address for the record. If you could speak into the microphone, that would be even better.
My name is Barbara Lee. I live at 26 Homewood Drive.
Is that behind or to the side of the development?
I'm sorry.
Is that behind the development, to the side?
No, it's Northbrook.
Oh,
Right
north,
across the street.
okay, across the street.
Yeah, right across the street from. So I did take the time today to take a look at the property and to drive up behind it and see the residences as well. My biggest concern was, first of all, the noise that you had mentioned, and I get you're addressing that. The other one is the one on the home on the south side is really, really close to where this building is going to be. This is going to be a terrible imposition, in my opinion, something for you to consider for these homeowners. There's also one that's catty corner, actually sort of behind that one on the south side, that I think is also going to be quite dramatically impacted. Just my idea, somebody wanted to go take a look, so I thought maybe that might be something for you to be aware of. The other thing, my other concern that has not been brought up yet is the issue of lighting. This kind of a setup, and I don't know what the lighting arrangements were at the original meeting, tends to emit a tremendous amount of light. I don't know what has been thought about, but I really feel as though, well, the state of Connecticut, as you all know, sort of mandated that dark sky lighting be used on the government buildings. I think it would be great if Monroe put that as a condition of lighting with any new buildings here, but certainly in a situation where adjoining properties are residential. It's going to make terrible light pollution to have this building putting out a tremendous amount of light. So that was my concern, and thank you for hearing me out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here tonight? Please come up forward. And once again, name and address
Very good.
for the record, and please address the commission.
Very
My name is Rick Smith. I live at 61 Hillcrest Road. That is under 700 feet away from the border to border my lot and the lot of this property. I only have one major concern, and maybe something that Kathleen or you can clarify that I don't think is a real concern. But the concern I have is with regard to the adverse environmental impact at this location. I think we can work around it. You asked some really great questions tonight. I really appreciate you hit around it, and I apologize if I couldn't see the landscape plan. I did see the landscape plan on the meeting package, but as you noted, Mr. O'Reilly, that there are a number of large deciduous, I thought there were cedars, but maybe they're pines along the back line. There are a number of other species along the northern, western, and southern diameter. This is a, it's not, the front is empty, but there's a lot of vegetation there. And it includes, there's one oak that you can't miss because it's 30 inches in diameter. It's got to be 70 to 90 feet tall, which means that it's 125 years old or thereabout. Significant with regard to root systems and things like that. Just as a point of information, the wetlands is about 130 feet, maybe 115 is a pond, 115 feet away at Northbrook. There's West Branch of Quantic right across the street. Andrew Brotman verified this with me. So, it's really important here. The removal of these mature trees will impact ground retention of water. This plot of land was instrumental in abating the floods from that extraordinary August storm that we had. The residents obviously are dependent on trees for the clean groundwater, the air replenishment, oxygen replenishment, our wells, and the absorption of the trees also absorb the road noise, the evening light pollution, and really important, this is very important to all residents in the area, especially those on the corner. The corner of Hillcrest on the other side flooded out during that storm. The basement crawl space was flooded out. It's prone to that kind of thing. Again, that was a 1,000-year storm. So I would request that the applicant preserve as many mature trees as possible. When I looked at the landscaping plan, it looked like they were pretty much clearing off everything. And I know that 125-year-old oak's got to go, but the rest of it, those trees in the back are important to me because that, light, the whole 9 yards, right? I don't need to get into what you already stated. So I want them to, again, review their landscaping plan. I wish you would ask them to review their landscaping plan to include sufficient planting to ensure minimal impact from the flora removal. I want them to assure that this is going to be no adverse impact from and it's going to have adequate groundwater recharge. Per their own studies, the soil in the plot is slow in filtration, slow in water transmission, has a high runoff rate, and we're putting a lot of impervious surfaces there. So we've got to take care of it. I would just suggest that maybe perhaps they might take a look at making more of a rectangular building slightly to try to meet everybody's needs for the truck servicing and everything else. But honestly, one point that I made tonight is that there's a sidewalk to be put up front. That's the only sidewalk for a mile. I don't know why we need a sidewalk. It's impervious surface, and I walk my dog through that area, and I don't need a sidewalk. It's tight. They've got a lot of those trees that they're planting along the road. Okay, so they're going to be little 14 feet. They're going to be little diameter trees, and they'll grow to maturity. There's power lines there. I don't know. Do we really need those trees up front, especially close to the road where if somebody's not paying attention, they could swerve? I don't want people to hit the trees. I'm thinking that if they move the building a little forward, that might not be a bad idea. So that's it on that one. I just want no adverse effect. It's not quite cut and dry as it looks. Landscaping plans look great on paper, but and Matt, Bob, and everybody else, great people, but maybe we move it a little closer to the road, a little more longitudinal or rectangular as opposed to square to preserve as many trees as possible. Maybe you can ask for a tree survey just for the mature trees. I can't do that because we're not allowed, it's not public access. So I didn't go onto the property to do that. Okay, so that's my only concern, really. Now I have a zoning issues thing. The applicant's description talks about the type of the business as a freestanding discount store. And then noted in the description that this store is included in this kind of store is found in mutual operation with service stations. I just want to make sure that we are not allowing something to go in that could become a service station. I don't know if it's a different zoning.
Was that taken from their original traffic study?
Their description, yeah, so it was a traffic study, yeah.
Okay, they've updated their traffic study and they've now defined it as a variety store.
Yeah.
And there is and if we want to read it, we can read it, but there's now a separate definition for how I asked the same question about could they further explain the discount store? They've now changed it to a variety store, which has more of a retail description associated with it, which we can't.
Variety could be a lot more, I was thinking that, if they had a service station, that might be in association with a convenience store, but we really don't need another gas pump there, especially in such close proximity to that pond and that stream and the area. We just don't need it.
They didn't propose a gas pump.
Excuse me?
They didn't propose a gas pump.
The original traffic.
No, but the description, I just want to make sure that we don't allow, because, hey, it said it could have a service station. I just want to make sure, and other residents on the block want to make sure that too. I care a lot about my community in general, and specifically my neighborhood. I talk to a lot of neighbors. I'm not going to tell you that they're with me or against me. I think most of them are. They're a little concerned with traffic, but we talked about it, and if they're really concerned, they'd be here tonight. I told them I was going, and I'd give them a ride. Okay, so that's my concern, and that's my clarification. I just want to make sure it's not a service station at any time. So then, a little bit about my perspective. This is a good thing. I'm not NIMBY. It's not my backyard. My perspective is, what went right? You guys did a great job. In asking for a public hearing, I appreciate the heck out of that. That was totally warranted and appropriate. I appreciate it. You're asking the right questions. Kathleen, in her P&Z report, did a great job. Concise, appropriate, very good. The Architectural Review Board, giving you an approval that was also warranted and appreciated. I want the involvement of other commissions feeding you guys, saying, hey, this is what we think about this. So this is currently blighted property. With regard to noise, especially early in the morning, yeah, we have that now because the truck drivers coming down or up Route 25, when they want to get to Dunkin' Donuts, that's where they pull off. So I hear them downshifting at 5 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning when it opens early so they can get a cup of coffee. I get it. It happens almost all the time. So I appreciate your concerns about noise, but right now it's worse with regard to that. It's blighted property. Some people treat this parcel, and it's on a major road, like they're trash dump. Really pisses me off. They have no regard for our community. I think this is an improvement. Residents know we've had a recent opportunity to challenge zoning on this of this location. I was actually notified. I wasn't notified this time. I don't know why, because I'm 700 feet away, but I was notified by certified letter on that list of residents. But we know we had an opportunity to challenge the zoning. It went through. When I moved to the area, it was obvious to me that sooner or later something's going to happen there. Now, back then, they still had the circle dot up and whatever, but, I was hoping maybe another, good breakfast place, whatever. But we can't choose that. It is what it is. I wouldn't choose a value store or whatever it is, but, okay. We experience minor traffic delays in the area. It's pain that every day. If you think you're leaving between 6 and 8, you better give yourself a couple more minutes. If you're coming home or leaving, if you're driving between the peak hours of 4 and 6, it's worse. I see the standard deviation of their traffic impact study. It's quite high. So that just tells me that as a resident, sometimes it's going to take a little longer than other times. And it is, to me, that's insufficient to deny approval. These are expected consequences of growth in Monroe. We want to have growth in Monroe. So I would encourage that you make some requests with regard to the impact of the environmental impact. But other than that, I would encourage approval after modifications to address concerns. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do we have anyone else here tonight that would like to comment? Please come forward. Just state your name and address, speak into the microphone, and address the commission.
This is 237 Cottage Street. I'm not on that side of town. My in-laws are, and my oldest son. Couple concerns. I was not at the first meeting, so if these things were addressed, I apologize. My concerns based on what we're expecting or what we're thinking the store is, 39 seems like a lot of parking spaces. My thoughts for the neighbors with the noise and the light pollution with these off hours potentially, and families with these trucks and beeping. I don't know if it's possible to do what many of our other businesses in Monroe have done, which is you can go around back building. They pull in, go to the right at store, loading dock is at the back by the trash cans, pull in the back, turn off the lights, you can unload, and then just pull straight back out where it looks like currently it says on that side of the building that it doesn't look like it's used. Opposite the parking, it just looks like concrete. So I don't know if it's possible to have something like that, which might be a little safer if the truck did come and it's not off hours. It's nice to think we can restrict somebody to 6 to 7 in the morning, 9 to 10 at night, but the things happen, we're in New England. There's snow, there's ice, there's whatever. I mean, it's gonna be tough to make somebody hear that. What are the repercussions if they don't? Are we gonna hold the store owner liable, or it's just a lot? My other thing, because my family on the other side of town is seniors, the 2 handicap spots look like they're to one side of the door. If you're looking at the building to the right. It's not the quantity of space, is the only overhang on the building appears to be at the doorway in the front. I have a couple concerns with that, with people getting out of those handicap spots, especially if they're unassisted and slow. They're coming up to a sidewalk that in the winter is gonna snow, because it doesn't look like that awning goes across the whole front, only over the doorway area. So I wanted to know if it's possible where we do have people who are potentially disabled, being able to access a safe sidewalk and where it's covered from elements, since bringing up the elements was brought up. The other is, because I don't think we can see in these pictures, my other question is, because we've got those doors in front, it looks like there's parking at the doorway. Are there going to be concrete stops or something to prevent a car ever going through to protect employees? And that may be something that I just can't see in the pictures we saw tonight, but that would be something that I think would be awesome to have. Most of our stores have something like that, but not walled. I think when we're doing the new construction, it'd be nice to protect that, so we don't have things going through buildings. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do you have anyone else here or online that would like to comment on this application? Please raise your hand. Okay, seeing none, then we'll go back to the applicant. Unless Kathleen, I think, do you have any other comments or questions?
I think you guys talked about mostly everything that was on our comment letter. James also still has a couple outstanding comments. He does have a bond recommendation of $21,500. I think his major issue is mostly the loading space, which you guys, I feel like I've talked about pretty thoroughly, but the zoning code requires them to show a WB 30. I will say that they are voluntarily, disclosing the fact that it's probably going to be a WB 50, which this commission has the availability to, if they think it's appropriate, to have to make sure the loading space is a requirement of that. So I do appreciate the fact that they are disclosing they will have a WB 50 and that they're trying to actually accommodate for that. We are seeing how they have the space shown. The turning study doesn't actually show how they're going to get into that space in that way. And I think that was just the main question for staff, of just making sure that the way they have it parked in that location, they can actually maneuver their way into that location.
Thank you. Okay, Attorney Russo, did you want to address at least Kathleen's question?
Yeah, so just going through the comments, the lighting is dark sky compliant. So we do abide by that standard, which is now standard basically throughout the whole area. The sidewalk is a requirement, and I know this commission has looked for those. You have to start somewhere. So, this will be the beginning, and hopefully in the future, more people will connect to it. The curb is 6 to 8 inches into the store. So there is a bump up there. But this commission, we don't show it on the plan. This commission has, as for bollards before, we have no issue with that. If you want to add some bollards, I think there's bollards entries. So, we have no issue with that if the commission wanted to add that. Regarding the building, it's actually, when you look at the B1 standards, we're significantly below on a lot of the standards, particularly with regards to building coverage. 25% is permitted. We're only at 17.2%. So this is not a building that's done out to the max. It is, there was comment regarding the parking area, but those are the required number of spaces that you have under here. So we have to provide that level of parking area for a building of this size. But as far as also the height of the building, this is a zone that allows 2.5 stories. We're only proposing 1. It's a zone that permits 35 feet in height. We are 16.45. So it's not, this property is already zoned B1. Again, this is a use that is permitted in the zone, and we feel we meet all your site development standards. Regarding the landscape, I didn't want to see any improvements here. I mean, if you turn by that site, it's cleared. And so this is going to add a significant amount of nice landscaping to that site. There are some mature trees that do have to come down, but again, we are aiming to preserve as much of those as we can, where we've been able to, particularly around the residential boundaries. We're trying to, not only do we have the fence, we have multiple rows of landscaping, 2 here and then 2 here. So I think it's going to be a tremendous improvement to that site visually. And again, regarding the deliveries, the truck turning plan, I'm not sure what that means in space. We can finish that.
We can show the truck wheel path into that position. We are showing the turning maneuver to reverse direction to back into that position, but
we can complete the plan to show, but we know that it can. Again, it's a WB50. It's not required by the regulations, but we're doing it to show what we think is the vehicle that will visit the site. And again, we do have that ability to shift this curb line to give more room, Commissioner Maini, as you were talking about. The only thing I'll say is, some of the comments are made is that it's sacrificing landscaping, which will be there 24/7, for again, a vehicle that will be likely once a week visiting the site. And I think
You only get deliveries once a week?
for that WB50 is only once a week. And then there'll be the trash vehicle for the dumpsters, but typically it's only once a week for deliveries with the WB50. And this commission, again, has the discretion under your regulations to restrict those hours. So
we can restrict them, but it's very hard to enforce that.
True. I mean, you'd have to have somebody that, correct.
Especially after hours.
I understand that. And so, but that's something, if you want us to provide more room here, we certainly could do it. We just, for this instance, we thought, we just try to provide as much landscaping as possible.
I think what's going to end up happening is they're going to end up backing up if it is after hours and not even backing up to the store. They're just going to stay parallel to the side of the building and work that way. Just because it'd be a lot easier.
I mean, it's possible, but as your regs require, you have to show them.
So there's no benefit to
Right. I mean, that we would agree.
Okay.
How many, sorry, how many
Go
extra
ahead.
spots are there?
Sorry?
How many extra spots do you have?
One.
One.
Just one, all right. Because I'm trying to think, as opposed to the parking, the potential for maybe adding some extra trees to make up for the larger ones getting taken
We
down.
could sacrifice, Commissioner Wong, we could sacrifice the one space. We're required to have 38.
Yeah,
So we could sacrifice one.
maybe look into that just to get some more trees on the property. Seems like that the neighbors that are in support of you building the building seem to have that as a request. So I would just push that maybe you look into getting some more trees on there for them. Somewhere. I'll leave that up to the landscape architect to figure it out.
Any other commission members, questions or staff? If not, we're going to leave this hearing open, correct? All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
The hearing will stay open. Till our
Yay.
next meeting. All right, we're going to move on to our next public hearing. SCP 2024-05, file number 1664, which is 50 Cambridge Drive. Commissioner Rondé.
Planning and Zoning Commission, Monroe, Connecticut, in accordance with CBS 2/7B, a public hearing will be held on Thursday, November 7th, or soon thereafter via hybrid Zoom meeting and in-person attendees at Monroe Town Hall. SCP 2024-05, file 1664, 50 Cambridge Drive, special exception permit application for proposed BESS, Battery Energy Storage System at 50 Cambridge Drive, I-2, Assessor Map 094, Lot 015/04, Monroe CTA LLC owner, BL Companies representative. Notice was published in Voices twice on October 23rd and October 30th.
And Kathleen, you want to read the exhibits to the record?
Exhibit 1, application and plan set dated October 16th, 2024. Exhibit number 2, comments from the Town of Monroe Fire Marshal, William David, document dated October 30th, 2024. Exhibit 3, comments from the Town of Monroe Health Department, dated November 1st, 2024. Planning and Zoning Administrator Report by myself, dated November 5th, 2024. Exhibit number 5, Town of Monroe Engineer Comments by James DeMayo, document dated November 5th, 2024. Exhibit number 6, revised comments from the Fire Marshal, William David, dated November 5th, 2024. Exhibit number 7, revised material, including the Stormwater Management Report by BL Companies, dated November 5th, 2024. And then additional material and response letter by BL Companies dated November 7th, 2024. That one.
Thank you. And to the applicant?
Yes, good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Craig Carey. I'm a senior project manager with RWE Clean Energy. With me this evening is Gareth Wilson, civil engineer from BL Companies. Also David Rains, director of fire protection, fire safety for RWE Clean Energy. And on the Zoom is Jeremy Smith, our electrical engineer from Walden Engineering. We've given you a presentation, which Gareth has on screen right now. RWE Clean Energy is a renewable energy company. We develop and own wind, solar, and energy storage projects across the United States. We've got 2,000 employees in the U.S. Our headquarters is in Valhalla, New York, and we have a local office in Danbury. This battery storage project is being developed in conjunction with the Connecticut Green Bank. The battery unit that we're proposing, one battery unit at the Axle Plastics facility on Cambridge Drive. The battery unit itself will be connected to the property owner's electric meter, that's referred to as behind the meter, and it will charge and dispatch power to and from the grid at a source. The battery unit also provides the building owner with the option of having backup power in the event of loss of power. The goal really for battery storage is to provide stability to the grid by dispatching power in peak demand periods, especially, for example, during the heat wave of summertime. The battery will be remotely monitored on a 24/7 a week basis. The equipment can be remotely shut down, and the town will be provided with an emergency management and fire safety plan, which David will go into in more detail a little bit later. The battery unit itself is just under 1 megawatt in size. What we're proposing now is a Tesla Megapack that could change subject to supply chain issues, availability, cost, other issues. But we've shown 2 illustrations of what a battery unit looks like. On the right is actually a battery unit that we installed at Mass Amherst. The battery itself is 5 feet wide, 29 feet long, 9 feet high. It will be enclosed and secured chain link fence with signage. I'll ask Gareth at this time to do an overview of the site plan that we've presented. And I should mention that this project has been before the Inland Wetlands Commission previously, and we have approval from the commission for the project as it's shown on our site.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Gareth Wilson. I'm project manager at the company's 100 Constitution Plaza in Hartford. I'm here to talk about the civil engineering aspects of the project, which are actually pretty straightforward. This is the existing axle plastic site, but the entrance of Cambridge Drive. The main factory needs a unit itself, employee parking in front, a loading docks, and more employee parking at the rear. So our works involve really 2 areas. One here, right beside the building, and then another at the rear, to the north, where the main battery unit is stored. If I can zoom in more detail on the next page. So our site works is really 2 enclosures, totally with 4 pads, 4 concrete pads, 2 in each. One enclosure down here beside the building and the electric room. I'll zoom in a moment into more detail. And up here we have the other larger enclosure with the best battery presentation. But then we have linking these 2. We go underground across the drive aisle, hugging the curb until this point. Then we're actually going to go overhead, the utility pole, spanning this section. See these lines here, they indicate the existing wetlands. We're moving through the Wetlands Commission, got their approval, thankfully. Part of the reason for going overhead this section is that this is a raised drive aisle, so it's made of evacuate and layers built up. Really the thoughts were during construction, just trenching that in the normal wet fashion, we'd end up making a larger trench, and that just seemed harder to manage, especially so close to wetlands. So we're focusing on over short distance, going underground again to the best battery unit here. We just zoom in, I think this is the first time. So here we're beside the building. We are removing 1 shrub, approximately in this area here. Basically 2 vehicles, 6 auto bodies for screening. If you've been to the site, it's actually quite a pretty industrial area. There's lots of ornamental trees along there due to its previous nature as previous use as a garden nursery. These 2 units here are small concrete pads, 6 inches raised out of the ground, concrete surround, and in chain length enclosure. So it can link to the meter and the transformer and the electric room at this point. Follow along here, keeping within the curb line. And then at this point, like I mentioned before, we have the utility pole where we go up. We span across close to the wetlands.
and then come back down. And this area is where the VMBS unit is. So this item here is the best backing in above. It's in a larger enclosure, approximately 20 feet by 48. And it has an exhibit rack on another concrete pad here. Removable fence along the front, and the reason for this larger ground pad is one for construction and two for maintenance and battery uses. If when they ever need to be moved, they remove that forklift truck, so you can provide enough turning space for that and allow getting pad for them. There's one tree in approximately this area here, which we're removing. It's in for health. We discussed quite a lot of wetlands. I'll agree with that to replace it with these 3 white ones here, 3 3-inch caliber. We also have these dull ones here to replace the shrub units, so clearly in this area. Engineering wise, that's kind of it from what's actually on the ground. The more impervious area we're having is less than 300 square feet. The stormwater flows are improving compared to the ones that are existing. I'll switch to the next drawing, hopefully. Just go to sediment erosion control. So like I mentioned, we have wetlands on site. Sorry. There we go. Wetlands on site. Can I get this right? On both sides here, the wetlands. So this is straw bale back to the fence, back the perimeter. Our stockpile, that's probably larger, that's your standard size. It's larger than the public structure required here, as there's very little clearing. Concrete washout, and then we move further down. We've still got the silk fence and straw bales at the rear, filter sock along the drive aisle, and then we have the fudging, the prefabricated tracking system to remove any debris from trucks and vehicles. In short, that's quite it really for engineering. Happy to take any questions now, or
But if it's okay with.
Go ahead with the whole presentation.
Our presentation, then we're happy to answer any questions. I'll ask Stephen Rains to come up and address the fire safety design features and emergency response plan. Thank you.
Good evening. I apologize for being in uniform. We had a funeral for one of the new Fairfield chiefs that passed away. So it's shot over here. David Rains, I'm with RWE. It's about 12 years in fire protection engineer, as well as been in the fire service for a while between Putnam County and Sherman, where I raised my kids. So a little bit about, I don't know how much you guys know about these batteries. So this Tesla system, it's a pretty stable system. So I know we see a lot of things in the news, on social media. So what's different about the Tesla, the Mega Pack? First of all, it's what I call the recipe of the battery. Very stable batteries. And the batteries from 6, 7, 8 years ago, unstable, ignition points were very low, couple hundred degrees, they heat up, they ignite, we have a fire. These batteries, we're talking like 1200 degrees, and we can't really even get there. So what's nice about the Tesla, we got primary cooling within a fire-rated container. We got secondary cooling with a jacket. Then we have containment for that secondary cooling, which is just ethylene glycol, normal, antifreeze type. But we have containment in the event. I think it's 7 liters is maximum, but our box or the Tesla box will contain that. So we have primary cooling, which is the ventilation system, secondary cooling, which is jacketed. And what's nice about, sorry about my voice, what's nice about the Tesla is that it's got a battery management system. So e-bikes and things like that, they're in the battery management system. It doesn't know when the battery's getting hot. It doesn't know when the battery's not charging and discharging appropriately. So with the Teslas, there's not only an overall battery management system within the box, which is battery management system with each rack. So it can isolate the rack down to the actual. So when you look at, we're going to show a picture of the inside. We don't have one. It's okay for now. So when you look at when you look at that first photo there, there's a bunch of doors, and within each door, there's a, sorry, yep.
There we go.
Yep, so there's the battery management system in the middle, so each of those other doors, you open them up, there's racks of batteries. We can control each rack of batteries and isolate them and shut them down. So we're monitoring this through what we call a SCADA system. That's our 24/7 monitoring. And then Tesla's monitoring it through their internal. And then we have a fire alarm system on this. So in the event there is a failure, it'll dial out like any commercial fire alarm system, UL listed, notify the 911 center, which will then dispatch the fire department in the unlikely event there's a problem. So I talked about the recipe. The battery is very stable. Automatic shutdown, 24-hour monitoring. And then we get into the emergency response plan. So as this project moves forward, so I've met with Fire Marshal Davin multiple times, went over the system with him, went over the intricacies to make sure he was comfortable. As we move through the process, what would happen is myself and my team would meet with, I think it's Monroe, Stepney, and Stevenson, the 3 fire departments, and we develop a site-specific emergency response plan to take into consideration how they respond, what apparatus, how they would access, where they would stage, and then what to do in the event there wasn't a failure, or if there's a brush fire in the area, or there's a fire in the rear of the building that has nothing to do with the battery, or there's a storm. So we include all that in the emergency response plan. And then we'll roll that out. We provide that not only on site, we provide it in a version that they can have it in the vehicles, they can have it in the 911 center. So everybody will be up to speed on that. And what we also do, prior to any batteries being delivered to the site during construction, we will do training for all the fire departments. And that's ongoing. It's not a one-stop thing. We'll continue to train in order, as we know, especially with the volunteers, you get changes in fire chiefs, fire marshals. We'll continue to provide that training so that everybody's comfortable. I can say for the thousands of megawatts that I've been involved with this battery, we haven't had one Tesla failure. And this is less than 1 megawatt. The project I'm going to tomorrow in Kansas is 500 megawatts, just to get you the scale. So we have these near hospitals, near schools. I'm very comfortable as a first responder to test the product. I can confidently stand in front of fire chiefs, parents, and say that, this is the newest generation of the Tesla product. And from a stability standpoint, I'm very comfortable with it. And again, I'll be more than happy to answer any questions as we go along here.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're
Concluding your presentation. All right, I just want to direct the attention to the note from Bill Davin that we have here in front of you that says he is quite confident on the safety standards as proposed, and that the fire department's knowledge of such and pre-planning awareness will only enhance the operations of such. That's from our fire marshal. So at that, we can take questions from the commission. We'll start on my right.
Most of the questions I had in my head were answered. I'm good for now.
For the emergency plan, is there any specific apparatus or devices that a fire department would need that ours might not have to handle something like this?
Commissioner Condon, no, there's nothing that I'm aware of after talking to I talked to 2 of the assistant chiefs that they don't have. Thermal imaging camera is really our best friend with this to look at any temperature deviation, but there's no specialized equipment or firefighting foam. We don't put water on these fires.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Ambrose?
Yeah, I have a question about you're talking about the Tesla batteries, right? How long have they been out on the market, the ones Tesla ones?
We have, Jeremy is our electrical engineer. Jeremy, I don't want to misstate. There was a question from the commission about the Tesla batteries and how many years they've been out, and specifically these batteries.
Yeah, there's 5 years on the Tesla 1. There's 4 years on the Tesla 2, and just over 1 year on the Tesla 2, the Megapack 2 XL, the current model. There's a 2,022 units currently in service. No issues.
What happens when if for some reason there's a failure? You say you can't put it out with water. What happens?
Yes, sir.
How do they put it out?
Commissioner. So the practice recognized by the National Fire Protection Association, it's not my practice, it's what's nationally recognized, is we let it self-consume. What's good about these batteries, they melt, they don't conflagration. This isn't turned into a big fire. They really literally melt down. The way the racks are set up here, most of the smoke emitted and whatnot is from the plastic that would be melting because of the stability of the batteries.
All right, there's no dangers from the smoke.
No, sir. The dissipation in the plume studies at 100 feet, there's no VOCs or any volatile organic compounds. I'd be more worried about a vehicle fire or something like that than I would from the lithium on the battery.
So you're saying that this wouldn't create any kind of, like where somebody would have to be.
Harmful plume, no, sir. At 100 feet, regardless of which way the wind's blowing at 100 feet, you're not going to have any kind of volatile organic compounds in the smoke. And that's also one of the reasons why we let it self-consume. It's kind of like if you have a fire in a fireplace and you slow burn it versus you burn it fast, there's almost nothing left. If you burn it fast, if you slow burn it, then.
And with the system being self-contained as it is,
I'm sorry, sir.
There's no chance of having an explosion?
No, sir. So, Jeremy, do you want to explain the explosion prevention? Only because my voice is failing here.
No problem. As my colleague was just saying, in the unlikely event of a thermal runaway, the batteries would melt. Older batteries used to off-gas some combustible gases as they went into thermal runaway. These batteries will not. That has been largely removed. As a precaution, however, we have what's called the sparker system. So in the event of abnormal conditions, we'll draw the air from inside the enclosure and put it through a tiny electrical arc that will vent and spark off any combustibles that do happen to accumulate inside the chamber during the event. And as a further precaution, the weakest seam of this unit is on the roof panels, that any kind of pressure bump will displace, forcing that up, not out.
The other question, since what's the lifespan on these batteries?
For sure, 10 years. We have projections out to 15 and 20 years with a capacity maintenance agreement.
Okay, and how often is this checked, or just checked by, just monitored by what you have in there?
It's 24/7 monitored from Palo Alto, California, as well as RWE will have their own monitoring.
Okay, all right, that's all. Thank you.
Typically, Commissioner, somebody out of the local office would come out routinely. That could be twice a month. That could be monthly. It really depends on what they see on the remote monitoring of it, if there's any anomaly.
Did you have
No, I ran out of questions because Leon stole mine. I'm all set, no questions.
All right, so I'm speaking to electrical pollution, which obviously is invisible. Is there any information at this point on any undesirable magnetic fields that may be emitted from this system while it's under normal operation?
Great question, Commissioner. Again, Jeremy, we talked about this. Could you respond to the electromagnetic potential?
Sure. This system, is a 480 volt system. So this is at no higher voltages and no higher electromagnetic field strength than a standard commercial fan that's running on top of one of the buildings. In addition, a lot of discussion online about higher voltages causing electromagnetic fields and inducing cancer. Those have been disproven.
Is there any factual data to back that up?
Well, again, this unit is 480 volts. So it is not a high voltage unit, 13.8. The grid voltage that's in the wires at the street is of much higher voltage than the system that you're looking at on the screen.
Commissioner, as an industry standard with these batteries at this voltage, they don't do testing per EM. That's kind of what's driving the answer.
So is there any byproduct from this system at all? Examples would be water, waste, acid, heat, noise.
Okay, so they're dry cells, unlike lead acid batteries, which they're not. These are dry cells. So this is an electrical reaction from the cathode and the anode. Then there's a divider in the middle, and that creates the ability to hold the current of the electrons. So that's the reaction. In the event of a failure of the battery, meaning all the safety systems would fail, then you can potentially generate the hydrogen gas. That's why we have the spark. Well, we don't. Tesla has the sparkers, which then would flash off that gas. And then we have the active ventilation in order to ensure there's no pressure buildup. But there's no known, even when I went to UL Labs and we failed these on purpose, we shot nail guns into them, caused them to fail, we monitored the air. We didn't produce anything that was anywhere near ideal H, like immediately dangerous life and health right on top of the unit. These are not walk-in units, these are just battery racks with doors. So there's no potential to have that kind of exposure. So I haven't seen, in my 12 years, I haven't seen a situation where we had a residual environmental effect. And again, I haven't fought a fire in one of these because I haven't had one catch fire. But in testing, we don't put water on it because we don't want to mix the water and the electrical, create that alkaline either, because that makes the cleanup difficult. And again, anything internal to this, as far as cooling medium, there's containment that meets the CFR standard. So it's well above the 7 liters. The containment's well above the 7 liters. That could come out if the cooling jacket was to fail.
And does that cooling medium get changed occasionally, or does that have a shelf life on it?
Well, I'm told it's 10 years.
Okay.
As long as it's not exposed to air, as long as it stays in the closed loop.
All right, well, it sounds like there's a pretty good track record on the product, and there's good fail safes put in place. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Okay, it sounds like our fire commissioner is happy with it, it being safe. Why is it being placed so far away from the building?
Yeah, I can tell you
If you could reintroduce yourself just for our meeting
I'm sorry,
minutes.
Greg Carey with RWE. There are really a couple of factors. One is the property owner did not want the battery unit itself to be interfering with any traffic or any operations. There is a significant amount of wetlands, so to find an area that is upland for the most part and away from the building was a little bit of a challenge. But it's really to keep it away and separate from the operations of the facility itself.
This is the property is the owner, plastic property owner's property goes up there?
Correct. That's right. That's the entire.
It's on the same lot.
Yeah.
I'm saying, and it complies with the setbacks?
Yes.
Right.
The closest property line is the one, is north up,
Yes.
is southeast, and they meet that setback. I think, I think you guys are like 40 feet away, something like that. But yeah, no, they're in compliance with the setback.
Okay, thank you. We have a couple. We have another question.
Yeah, it's never one.
Okay, so you said that you're gonna let them self-burn out, so you wouldn't put water on. So there's this, if they ever caught on fire, they would just let them burn. So in other, like, states or whatever, is there a setback where you can put these, like, next to a building? How far does it have to be from a building?
That's a great question, Commissioner. So NFPA 855 is the international standard for battery storage system. And this system could be 5 feet by code, by fire code, 5 feet from the property line or fence line.
Could be
It
5
could be,
feet.
I mean, if we're in a situation, that's what the fire code or the NFPA code, and it's also referenced in the International Fire Code, Chapter 12. It's 5 feet from the property or the fence line.
So that's what they 5 feet.
Yep, 5 feet. So, and then they look at heat dissipation over that 5 feet. Conflagration, is it gonna, is it gonna catch that wall on fire?
Right.
I think so. And these are rated listed enclosures. These are heavy gauge metal enclosures.
So you said you, like, I think you have 2,000 of these installed so far, somewhere around?
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
Does any of these other
From the
towns, what do you call it, have any kind of setback requirements for these?
Say that one more time.
Anybody have any kind of setback requirements for these kind of units?
From unit to unit? Is that what you're asking?
So a unit to be put on the property, what's their setbacks from a building? Does anybody, other towns have setback requirements?
Again, typically, we reference NFPA or the local zoning standard. Many times, again, as Kathleen knows, sometimes it's a structure, sometimes it's not a structure. So it really depends on the adaptability for that zoning code. But to answer your question, greater than 5 feet.
I got that, yeah.
And from box to box, it can be 3 feet. But typically we separate the boxes by 10 feet. A lot of that is from a maintenance perspective, snow removal, accessibility. In these cases with the Connecticut Green Bank, these are all single box, installations.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Any other commission questions?
Further answer your question, there are setback requirements. We recently received approval from town of Newtown.
Yeah.
And I think the setback was 50 feet from a property line, if I'm not mistaken.
That was to do with residential to industrial use, I believe, though.
But yes, there are setback requirements.
Okay, thank you. That's all I know.
All right, well, let's go to the public. If the public, anyone from the public here tonight would like to speak on this issue once again, name and address the commission, please.
Evening again, this is Rick Smith, 61 Hillcrest Road, here in Monroe. So I really appreciate Chief being here tonight to explain things from the company's, the applicant's perspective. I was a little confused because in the overview given to us, it says that there's more than 50 battery storage project sites across the U.S. contracted or operational. Now we're saying 2,000. I'm just a little confused by that. But regardless, this is a substantial system. 0.767 megawatts is medium-sized, powers at least 1,000 homes in a storm, and could be up to 2,000 if depending on the usage. But so it's a very good thing for Monroe. It's a very good thing in general. I appreciate where it's at out in a district that's rated for this kind of type of application. But as he alluded to, there is constant news about these things failing. Port Arthur, Texas home about a month ago was totally destroyed. There was a parking garage 2 months ago where 2 firefighters died. Harrisburg 3 months ago. It just goes. There's a lot of it, and it's recent. And I appreciate that they also told you that it was a new technology, and I'm really glad to hear that. I'm not against this. I'm just concerned because thermal runaways happen, and people in the industry know that they need improved safety protocols. So to hear that, thermal runaways happen. This is surrounded by wetlands. Except for that road, all 3 sides are wetlands. It's in the upper review area of the wetlands. Wet, lithium ion, don't mix. My only concern is that if, and it's very infrequent, and I really don't think it's going to happen, but in the case of a thermal runaway, I just want to make sure that our fire department gets there quickly, that our EMS gets there quickly, that it's tended to quickly without any injuries, without any major problems. Axle Plastics, which is the property, they do mold release products. There's a lot of solvents that they produce and other chemicals that are highly flammable. There is a liquid nitrogen tank at Axle Plastics. So I like the fact that there's some distance, but the distance is not great if it's a thermal runaway because it's moderately forested in the wetlands and it's wet. So my only concern, and some of it was belayed by Stepney Assistant Fire Chief Mike Dunn. He showed me that they had the appropriate self-contained breathing apparatus on board, and they've got the right fire extinguishers. But I worry about something happening in the middle of the night, wintry middle of the night where might be some continuity or there's some liquid associated close to the battery storage system. I know that they're saying it's a foolproof system, 24 hours, but is that a thermal imaging camera that does that? Because that's where these things have graphite sheets. That's typically what malfunctions, and it malfunctions internally, like I want to make a reference to a atomic site, but it starts to, heat up internally, these graphite sheets fail, and so I just wanted to know if there's a thermal camera, and also, the only things that I think we could do different, besides assuring that we've got enough self-contained breathing apparatus and stuff like that and I think that our chief probably realizes there is or has commented. I appreciate his comments because his last comment at the 10:30 was no current concerns with the submitted SCP application. That's great, but I would like to little more like you guys tonight, some valid questions about the system. So 2 things that may be considered is, when you go in gas stations, they have the fire suppression systems built in, shooting down at a car in case there does happen to be somebody who lights his car on fire or starts a fire near the pump. I don't know if that's appropriate, probably not, but then the only other one is there's a lot of aggregate material that they're going to have when they tear up this pad, and that's fine. I think that's covered, but maybe they could take that aggregate material and use it as a berm around the battery storage unit, or at least a couple of sides of the berm, just to make sure that there's no leakage. This is not my subject. I don't know these batteries, but that's the point. A lot of people don't know them, and I want to make sure that we, as I said earlier, that if there is a thermal runaway or any kind of incident, that it's handled properly and quickly. They are requiring their own personnel to be on site for certain parts of any kind of thermal runaway, and I would like to know that there's a thermal imaging camera associated with the alarm system. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Anyone else who would like to comment? Yes, go ahead.
Again, Margaret Lee. Again, Margaret Lee, 26 Olive Drive. I just had a question, and I know nothing about batteries, so forgive me. But because of the wetlands, and I did drive up there and take a look at that today as well, I wanted, my basic concern, in addition to the others that have already been addressed, do these types of batteries have any kind of battery acid or material that can seep off and out of their containers and get into the wetlands? Because that's certainly not something that's going to be handled by the fire department, but it would be an enormous pollutant. That would be a major.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments. And yes, come right up forward. Name and address, please.
You have to pay attention.
Soltisiak, 237 Cottage Street. So much like the last resident, I don't know anything about these kinds of batteries. The only thing that caught me off, and I intended to have probably nothing to say, was when they were first speaking about it, was they were talking about the fence that was going to be going around it. And the words were, barring supply chain issues or cost. I have no idea what that means, but it definitely, I'm sure somebody would pay attention, but that comment just really rubbed me the wrong way. And that if our fire department does have, in the off chance something happens, and it's not something water that we use to contain this, does the apparatus that we have that would be required, does it have an expiration like, say, a fire extinguisher does? I want to make sure, it's a weird one-off, and I've got a kid in the fire department in my family. So I just would like to know on my end, somebody is not only just thinking, hey, listen, fire chief's making sure if this expires, yeah, we replace it, but that if we're replacing it, because let's say we have 2 of these units in town, and heaven forbid we have something that would be utilized and used up in the event one fails, I just want to make sure somebody's looking at these one-offs, similar to what Leon was saying with other things, making sure we have stuff accessible, because this is new for us. And then the only other question I had is in the area where the wire is above ground. I have not seen the property, because it's not a public area where, say, a neighbor's gonna say, hey, we had a storm, it's Saturday, there's a tree that took down this limb. I just want to make sure that if there's any trees that ever could potentially take down that wire, because it's in an area where only people who work there would see it, that somebody is definitely required to do maintenance to keep things a certain distance from that above ground.
Okay, thank you very much. I see online Paula's iPad has its hand up. So can we hear from Paula's iPad?
Oh, I just unmuted myself. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Yes.
My name is Paula Jelly. I live at 290 Cottage Street. I have two questions. One is about snow and snow removal, because snow is wet. How is that controlled to prevent any corrosion around the battery storage area? And my second question is about a news article that somebody just forwarded to me on fox61.com about 2 people being burned at the Axle Plastic Research Lab in Monroe in 2018. What happens if there's a fire at the lab, but not the battery area? What's the protocol for the fire department for that? What's the risk? That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else online that has a question or comment, please raise your hand. Seeing none, we will go back to the applicant.
Again, David Rains, Senior Director of Fire Protection for RW. Some great questions. So I'll first clarify the first question on the units versus the systems. Jeremy stated earlier there's over 2,000 of these actual containers. There's in our write-up, we have over 50 systems. So some of the systems are 100 megawatts, 30 megawatts. You saw one from UMass Amherst, Northampton, Massachusetts. So of this specific battery, there's 2,000 plus active identical units out there. What we've built so far to date is over 50 systems. One in California is 500 megawatts. Texas is 100 megawatts. In the Boston area, we have 80 megawatts. So that's the 50. We have 50 systems out there that we manage, making up of several thousand megawatts. I'm not sure what the total number is. So just to clarify that, there's 2,000 of these battery units actively operating. The fire department response, great question about water specialized equipment. Again, we let it self-consume. Any water used is to manage any potential brush fire or a fire maybe impinging on it from a secondary source, car fire, industrial fire. The setback from this building to the battery is hundreds of feet.
Yeah, over 200.
Yeah, over 200 feet. I wouldn't consider that an exposure potential, but in the event that there's an incident on the site of any type, we have a Knox box there, the fire department accesses, they pull the card on it, they contact the 800 number, and they say, shut it down. So we're opening up the switches. So now, regardless of what's going on the campus there, we've made this static. No power in, no power out. So that's what happens. That's part of the emergency services response plan. Snow removal. So as part of the maintenance of the site itself, in conjunction with the property owner, there'll be a snow removal contract in place to ensure that the snow is removed and that there'll be 24/7, 365 access. Reasonably understanding, when you get a large storm, sometimes there's delay in getting the snow removed. Also, the containers are sealed, intrinsically safe. Again, they do have the tops that will open up, but they're sealed units. They don't allow moisture in, and they do have the containment built within them. They're very robust. We have these in Maine. We have these in Las Vegas where it's 130 on the ground. So I hope that answers those questions.
Thank you.
Gareth Wilson, BL Companies, I'll just address the berm issue. And one that's involved in the battery are so small, liters. And two, providing a berm around it, obviously would impede the existing water flows that you'd end up finding in water as well, or changing and altering the current water flow. So that's not something that we'd want to do in the first place, and wouldn't be appropriate for the volume of water that's there. So,
Okay.
is there any other questions on the engineering aspect I can address? Or?
Thank you. We'll go to the commissioners again for any further questions before we close the hearing.
No, sir.
If you just want me to go through briefly, James May, our town engineer, did provide a memo that he had no outstanding comments in regards to the application. He reviewed this thoroughly as part of the inland wetland application. And then he has no bond recommendation because a bond was posted as part of the inland wetland application. My comment memo included a request for additional information related to our industrial standards, which had to deal with noise, vibration, air pollution, glare and heat, and hazardous waste materials. I believe everything that they outlined mostly in their memo, they have also verbally explained here tonight. I also had questions about if there was going to be any additional signage. They said no additional signage besides the safety /contact signs on the proposed fence. There is no proposed additional lighting as part of the project. Just a quick history that they did have a pretty thorough pre-application meeting with staff that included the building department, the fire marshal, planning and zoning, inland wetlands, in order to talk about many of the things that they talked about tonight. So the fire marshal's first original comment was because he did really have extensive conversations at that first meeting. We did ask him to do a quick review again, and I believe all that information has been disclosed to all of you tonight. So staff takes no exception to closing the public hearing.
Thank you, Kathleen.
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did we look into any requirements in any other towns or any part of the state or any other states about setbacks for these kind of units?
We didn't do a comparison. We did a thorough review of our own regulations, which is basically silent. It doesn't permit or prohibit. So,
I'm saying because this is like the first one that's coming here.
No, I agree with you. It's something I actually have to bring up at subcommittee. We do have an extensive list of regulations that still need to be done. So the question is, where does this go in the priority list? But yeah, this is something we should talk about in subcommittee if this is something that commission wants to look at and potentially do some regulation changes.
Right, because these probably things are going to pop up a little bit more.
I agree with you.
I need to know, see what other states are doing or.
Yeah, not that this is the problem, but also we need to look at like solar, solar, where we had our first ground mounted solar sign at a residential property, and there was some confusion on how that was being interpreted by past staff and myself. So yeah, there's a bunch of sustainable energy products that, we should.
All right, then we'll close this hearing unless you have, you'd like to apply. We'll hereby closing this hearing. Thank you all. Okay. Moving on. I got it. Pending deliberation and determinations. Do we want to direct staff to draft an approval for this?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Yes, yes. Okay, draft an approval.
Do you want to condition the approval based on some of the items do you want me to put together some of the conditions based on some of the items that were discussed tonight, which included potentially, I can just memorialize that the application had to provide like a site-specific emergency response plan about the training associated with it. Did you want to think about trees along the overhead lines, things of that nature? So yeah, I'll memorialize those two things and then do an approval, but this is actually a pretty simple, there's no anything, it's a pretty simple approval, to the point where if you really wanted to vote on it tonight, we probably could.
All right, the chair will entertain a motion to approve this.
So I would just say the motion to approve would just be with two conditions, which is that the applicant shall develop a site-specific emergency response plan with the town of Monroe fire stations to be completed prior to a zoning certificate of completion. So they don't need it in order to get the original permit for construction, but they do need it to the final zoning sign off. And then the training to be done prior to the delivery of the batteries, which is what they had discussed to be conducted with the fire stations and with firefighters.
Okay,
Question before we deliberate. What's your setback right now from the property line, do you know?
On the rear, it is, they have it placed 53 feet and they're required to be 25.
motion,
I'll make a motion to approve SCP 2024-05,
Conditional. You could say with conditions after.
yeah, go ahead.
All right, I'll start over. I'll make a motion to approve SCP 2024-05 file 166450 Cambridge Drive with the two conditions Kathleen stated.
Okay, motion by Mayini,
Second, Condon.
second by Condon. Is there any further discussion?
No.
I just was worried about the setbacks, that's all.
So no.
50 feet. All right, then we'll call the roll, starting on my right.
Condon, yes.
Ambrosi, yes.
O'Reilly, yes.
Mayini, yes.
Westland, yes.
Passes unanimously. Thank you all. Moving on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck. We have pending meeting
minutes.
Thank you. 10/17/24. Everyone has seen a copy of the minutes. They were sent out in your packet.
Hold on, Kathleen, that's something to say.
I'm good. No, I'm good.
Done talking.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve meeting minutes of October 17, 2024 as drafted.
Motion by Condon.
Second.
Second by Mayini. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion passes. Zoning planning matters. We have a request for a 90-day extension to SCB 2023-04, 127 Main Street.
This was written in front of you for an extension this summer. As part of subdivision, they are applicable for 2 90 days extensions. We granted them an extension previously in June. They're asking for another one that would bring them to December 23rd, 2024. That would be their last extension. And they claim they are on schedule in order to make that deadline. So staff recommends that they be granted an extension.
Okay, we have a motion to grant 90-day extension.
I'll make a motion to grant the 90-day extension SUB 2023-04127 Main Street.
Okay, we have a motion. Second. And a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Unanimous? Vote. Okay, I think Kathleen Gallagher would like to be appointed as zoning enforcement officer in the absence of the current CEO when he might be on vacation or ill or something.
I got nervous.
No, no.
Yeah, I got nervous.
I was like, no, for very happy personal reasons, he is going to be out for a little bit in the spring. And we just want to make sure right now, like I can go out and do like complaint inspections, but if somebody actually has to write like a cease and desist or an actual notice of violation, I just.
So you need another job?
No, I just need to make sure that if something were to come up during that time where he's out, that we just have coverage and I'm duly appointed in order to.
I'll make a motion to deputize.
Wow.
Okay, I have a motion by Condon.
Second.
Second by Mayini. Is there any further discussion?
No.
It's not. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstained? All right, it's unanimous. Kathleen Gallagher is now the zoning enforcement officer in the absence of our current CEO. I don't see any correspondence. I don't have a report. Do any of the commissioners have a report?
No.
Okay, back to you, Kathleen.
Just 2 quick items. One is the Inland Wetland Commission continues to struggle with public hearing comments about wildlife and ecological considerations for the entirety of the site. People keep asking them to factor that into their decisions when in reality, the Inland Wetland Commission is only looking at the scope of work for the wetlands and for wildlife and ecological concerns that depend on the wetlands. So if there's a salamander that is found not in a wetlands, but it's dependent on the wetlands, they can take that into consideration. But if there's another species of animal that is somewhere else on the site, or, the cutting down of mature forest in its entirety of a site, that's not really within their purview. So I just did want to remind this commission, and I gave you one excerpt on the very bottom of your packet of the zoning regulations that as part of site development plans and special exception permits that require site plans, this commission is to take into consideration, ecological considerations. There's 3 items there. Impacts to streams, wetlands, areas of aquifer recharge and discharge, steep slopes, highly erodible soils, areas with high water table, floodplains, areas of mature vegetation, and extraordinarily wildlife nesting, feeding, and breeding habitats. It needs to conform with existing geological and topographic features to the end that the most appropriate use of land is encouraged. And also just talking about sewage and liquid waste and toxins and hazardous materials and things of that nature. So just a reminder to this commission that you do take ecological considerations for the entirety of the site into consideration when you are looking at site development plans.
They can just bump it up to us.
And that's what we tell them, is we do tell them it goes to this commission, and it's just a reminder to this commission that that is within your purview, that they are looking at it only as it relates to wetlands, and this commission is looking at it in its entirety.
And all the site plans do go to conservation you have the ability to write and submit us a letter.
Yeah, and you guys,
Notified into the regulations a while back.
Yeah, I like
it has just continued to be an issue over and over and over again. So good faith effort is just a reminder. The other item is like literally just for your information in case you get comments from the public. Voices has informed us that they will no longer be publishing legal notices as of later this month. So at the moment, we utilize them for public hearings, notice of decisions, preliminary wetland applications, basically everything. And they will now no longer be providing that service. So that will be noticed in the CT post. That is our temporary measure. There's a lot of other considerations, mostly budgeting, of why, that's not the way we utilize it at the moment. We are talking to state representatives and things of that nature. There's a public bill that's been in front of the state legislation for a long time now about actually taking it out of the newspaper completely and then allowing it to be online, which would have to state some of the state statutes. But if you do get comments from members of the public, we are aware it is not going to be there anymore, and it is now going to be in the CT post unless we can come up with some other solution.
Why is Voices not doing it anymore?
Financial reasons of the person that does their legal stuff is located somewhere else, and it's no longer profitable for them.
Ryan will just hand out flyers for every notice to every homeowner.
We talked about that. We've actually been like,
Ryan will go to each house and stuff their mailbox.
We're really throwing a.
can do that, too.
Against the wall to see.
Just giving us some of the town criers.
Should have been online a long time
about it.
I agree, and they made a bill for it, but it's just not been a priority for the state.
Yeah, if we could get it up on the Monroe Sun and that would count, that would be perfect.
That would be real perfect.
Understood.
Open a couple bucks.
Or far, she put on Facebook.
Oofa.
And then just a reminder to everybody that subcommittee is November 18th at 5:30.
It's probably one of the most watched publications is Facebook, to be honest.
So we have a meeting on the 18th,
Yes.
5:30. Thank you very much.
Who's bringing pizza? Wow.
And that is it for me.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Oh, second.
What's the just second?
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.